the Rockets were one of 6 teams on ESPN.com's midseason report card to garner an A. An A. Our basketball team is up to an A grade at midseason, and they graded the teams not so much based on how good they are, period. They based them on how good they are versus what the expectations were at the beginning of the year. For example, the Detroit Pistons, who did beat the Rockets the other night but are hovering around 500, much better than everybody thought they would be. They were projected to have like 20-something wins. They're on pace to be over 500 this year. They're on pace for like 45 wins. They got an A because they're way better than people thought they would be. So the 6 teams that got an A were the Houston Rockets, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who were the best team in basketball when the Rockets beat them the other night, the Detroit Pistons, the Clippers, who the Rockets have had good success against this year, the Memphis Grizzlies, who the Rockets have had good success against this year, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who the Rockets have beaten one time, and they got blown out by OKC as well. But that's lofty company, man. It's nice. This is going to be nice, Seth, after the Super Bowl is over. There'd always been that gap right there from like the beginning of February until the Astros got going, where, probably got more into March Madness in some years than I have recently because there was really nothing to speak of about our pro basketball team. This is fun.
Like but even when the Rockets were at their peak of the last decade, it was still, we got to that point where, okay, yes, they're going to win a bunch of games in the regular season, but we'll wait and see what happens with Harden in the playoffs and everything else. It was a waiting game. Yep. Whereas with this year, the entire season will be an examination of just how good they are. Can they keep this up? Are they going to improve this? Is Jalen Green going to continue on this trajectory? It's a lot more intriguing than when you could almost just pencil them in as one of the top 3 teams in the West, and it was just a matter of how they'll perform in the playoffs. Yeah. And this is a different style of team, too, than those James Harden-led teams were. I think it makes it a lot more fun. There's a novelty and an intrigue to this team this year that we didn't have even in the Rockets' best days. Yeah, well, they're top 10 offensively and defensively in efficiency right now. They're not a good shooting team, but they're incredible on the glass. Like, they get a ton of opportunities. They're scrappy, I think, the Rockets actually were a good defensive team in a couple of those Harden years where the team was really – like that year they won 65 games. You don't win 65 games without being a good defensive team. You've got to be a good defensive team. But it's the way this team plays defense. Like, Trevor Ariza would have fit in perfect on this team. He was a dog, like Trevor Ariza was. They were more, that team was good defensively. They were more about defensive efficiency than just like the physicality, the scrappiness. It's a young team too. Like, they fight. It's a style of basketball that's really easy to get behind. I was watching a high school basketball game last night, Sean, and I was going to text you, but I was too wrapped up in the action because I wanted you to understand why I might be emotionally drained this morning. The score 2 minutes into the second quarter was 2-0. And it was not because of blisteringly vicious defense. It was a rough watch, man. And as I got to thinking about many, many other things while watching this game, I was like, man, it's nice to watch the Rockets where it's genuinely good defense that's causing. Now, yes, the shooting could be better, but it's a fun team to watch. It's not general incompetence that's keeping the games lower.
Is there a rule in your district that requires the players to play blindfolded for the first quarter of the game?
It wasn't I was watching a relative on a stream.
Oh, gotcha.
But I was trying to pay attention, and it was. My relative was not productive at this because they were packing the paint against her. She had 3. Nobody else could shoot.
That sucks.
There's her, and then there's a point guard that can shoot but was not shooting well at all, just missing wide open threes all the time.
She's the best player on the team, it sounds like. She's the head of the snake.
It's not a very good team.
I mean, it may be a janky snake.
She's more of a volleyball player, and she plays basketball for the hell of it, right? But yeah, so she's not good enough to overcome. Yeah, it wasn't like she was going to overpower the defenders. Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough.
Think about the age we live in.
They won, though. They won. They got down to by the end of the first half, they were down 12-4, and they came back and won. The point guard started hitting threes.
Honestly, like proportionally, like if it were a regular scoring basketball game,
Yeah.
It's like being down like 40-14 at the half.
It was no, dude. In the second quarter, I was just cheering for both teams.
Yeah.
I just anybody please score. Please, for the love of God,
entertain me.
Points. I have attentional difficulties.
Just picturing one of the kids scoring a bucket and turning to the camera. Are you not entertained? And Seth going, no, I am not entertained in the slightest.
Even the team, our team, they were trying to do a good job. They were moving the ball around the perimeter, but they were doing it very methodically, so it wasn't even having an effect, which I was happy about because I'm like, okay, at least they're using the whole shot clock. Fine. Yeah. Yes, please. Just keep it. Just anything to keep that ball in bounds,
That's
please.
hilarious. That's hilarious. Hey, real quick, the Rockets-Texans parallel that I teased coming into this segment, and we've brought this up before. There's so many parallels with those two teams going back the last 4 years, from the arc of the rebuild to, I think, the vibe of the head coaches they hired. D'Amico and Ime Udoka, I think, are cut from similar cloths. I think there's differences between the two, but I think definitely how they skewed defensively, the two of them, how good they are at coaching it, all of those things. I also think one of the parallels is they're going to lead both of these teams to great success the next several years. Similar to the Texans, though, one of the themes of the Texans is, boy, they've really restored that home field advantage at NRG Stadium. Maybe it wasn't reflected in the record. They were 5-3 at home, but boy, you watch them, and the defense at home, even in a couple of the losses, really, really good. The Rockets are 9-1 at home. I'll credit Ben Dubose with this stat on Twitter. The Rockets are 9-1 at home against top 10 teams in the NBA by record. Yeah. They lost to the Celtics. Other than that, 1-0 against the Thunder, 2-0 against the Grizzlies and the Clippers, and then 1-0 against the Lakers, Cavs, Knicks, and Pacers. This is not a phony 2 seed that they are midway through the season. You know, whereas last year when Jalen Green and the team had that big march where they were able to kind of climb back towards finishing 500, but it was against the dregs of the league. Now, 7-game series is going to be different, you know, as opposed to 1 game in January in the regular season. But 9-1 at home against top 10 teams is a big enough sample for me within a season where I go, all right, I'll be disappointed if this team doesn't have home court advantage in the first round of the playoffs. If they're if they're not a top 4 seed,
big difference, right? Yep. Well, they got off to that ridiculous stretch early in the season at home too. They were really good at home early on. That stacked the deck immediately.
Yep. So that's good, man. I love that parallel with the Texans. All right,